And we're streaming. We are live.
Woohoo. Fantastic.
Yes.
Excellent.
Poems at the start were absolutely fantastic. I love them.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were lovely.
And that last story, her voice and everything, just like, just amazing.
That Jade's one.
Yeah, it tells the story so well. Yeah.
Yeah, she is an amazing storyteller.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Very evoking and yeah, just draws you in so much. Yeah, it gives me goosebumps listening to her tell stories.
I started it again. I was like, Andy, come, you got to come see this. And she starts the smudging, and it just like, and then she just starts like whispering to you in the camera, and it's just like, oh wow, that's just like sets the mood fantastically.
Yeah,
it does indeed. It does indeed. We've got some great things coming up as well. Some absolutely fantastic tales coming up. It's all good.
That's really good. That is really good.
Yeah. Yeah, some fabulous contributions. So we are here for a storytelling workshop. Anna is going to lead us through writing our own stories, I believe, Anna.
Yes. Yes.
Off you go then, my lovely.
So, storytelling. Storytelling is something that has been a thing since forever. We've told stories since we were able to start speaking, whether it's stories about the hunt we've just been on and expanding on how large the fish was we caught. Stories have been with us forever. They can be stories of our loved ones, of our adventures, of the things we wish we could do, and there's no end to the possibilities with storytelling. I remember when I was at school, I didn't think that I could write a story, because I wasn't very good at school. I wasn't very good at writing, but I was a very good storyteller. I could weave words and make people believe them, so much so that I got into trouble for telling a story about meeting a rabbit in the woods and going into his little burrow and having tea with him when I was in the guides, and I just been playing out on my own, and then the girls who was like, well, what have you been doing, came along. I told them this story, and they went to the heads of the sort of brown owl. I got in trouble for telling lies when all I was doing was telling a story, to make up for being by myself and not wanting to play with everybody else. So yeah, stories are inherent in what we do in our lives and everything. So a lot of people think they can't do a story, they can't make a story, but it's so easy to create a story. People get hung up on where to start, or the words or the names or the places, but you don't need any of that straight away. That comes as the story grows. It can be as simple as choosing an animal, for example. So we'll use that as our basis for the workshop today. So if you were to choose an animal, be it a bear or a butterfly or a snake, anything you feel and akin to, something that you feel connected to. So for me, I'm going to choose the bear, and luckily I have a bear. So my story is going to be about a bear. So I have a bear. What colour is he? He's brown. So there's a bit of information about him. He doesn't have a name, but that name may appear later in the story as the story progresses. So you've got your animal. Now you've got to think of a place that animal might go, or a place where that animal might be. So my bear is going to be in the woods. So quite simple, nice easy start. I currently have a character and a location. So I have a bear in the woods. Now, this bear I want to go on an adventure with. So I'm going to take the bear for a walk through the woods. And he's going to see different things. Maybe a nice gnarly old tree, or a cave, or meet someone else there, either a person or another animal. So the possibilities start lining up, all these different ideas start coming up. What could that bear do? So my bear is going to meet a person.
Sorry.
That's okay. So this bear is going to meet someone. So I'm going to choose myself. So this bear meets me in the woods. And I am scared of the bear because I'm not sure what the bear is going to do to me. I get a little bit nervous. I think, oh my gosh, should I run away from the bear? Should I try and hide? Should I make myself gigantically big and try and scare the bear away? But then I start looking at the bear and I realize that the bear is calm and just looking at me. And it is just watching me. So this story that is creating and becoming starts leading itself into its own story. You don't have to decide all the things that are going to happen in this story straight away. It can meld itself, it can start telling itself. And that's one of the things that I see about story, is that it tells itself. You're just the person that it's coming through. I'll come back to that in a bit. So this bear meets me, happy little bear, calm and gently walking through the woods, and it meets me, and I'm a bit scared and I'm a bit unsure. But then when I start looking at the bear, I think, oh, this bear is calm. It's not trying to eat me, it's not chasing me, it's not showing any aggression. I think, okay, let's see what this is going to do, what's going to happen. So I think, okay, this bear is going to show me something. So this bear takes me on a walk through the woods with it. So I start walking alongside the bear. Then we see a cave, and the bear leads me into the cave. And again, I'm a bit scared, but it's all very calm. It's a lovely, light, bright cave, beautiful. There's roots lining the walls, and within each of the roots, there's little things like little crystals or scraps of paper or trinkets and acorns and all sorts of wonderful little things. So this story is beginning to unfold a bit more. Those who have just joined, hello. So as we continue down the story, we have gained knowledge about the story. We have gained ideas. And there's no right or wrong way to go with a story. When it's unfolding, it is unfolding. It is changing and evolving through the telling of the story. So I have my bear, I have the woods, I have me, I have the cave. It's a cave of wonders, as it has so many little things in it to look at. So already this story has got a lot of depth. There's a lot there. So there's different ways I could go with this story. I'm going to go into looking at what there is in the cave. So I see little crystals, and I see little bits of paper which I pull out, and they might only be like pieces of torn paper, and maybe some with written words on them. But it's interesting. It makes me think, what could these items be trying to tell me? What's the story behind all these little items? There are stories within the story, because all of these little items have their own story, how they were collected, where they came from. So I look at the bear, and the bear looks at me. I look deep into its eyes, and I feel comforted. I feel safe. I feel at home. And that's when I realize that the bear is me. I am the bear. And all these wonderful little things that are in this cave that the bear has shown me are all connected to me in some way. All the little crystals and all the scraps of paper and all of the little things that have been collected, stones and acorns and shells and all of these wonderful little things. They've all been collected by the bear, which means they've all been collected by me. And then I realize the bear is me, and I am the bear. And I know there's nothing to be scared of. And there you go. There's a story. Very simple, quite easy. But there you go. So you are to start writing a story. The easiest thing is to start at the beginning. Seems simple. Start with a person or an animal or some kind of character, be it a bear or a person. It doesn't matter. My story didn't have any names in it, but it still made it a story. It had a beginning, it had a middle, and it had an end. There are many ways to tell stories. There are the easy ones, the simple, the ones we know very well is the books. We write down a story. But the easiest and the first ways of telling story was by speaking it, by oral speaking of stories. And some of those stories are amazing now that someone's written them down and we can remember them. But it doesn't make it any less a story just because someone's spoken it but never written it down. Also, stories can be in songs or in poetry, as the wonderful poems we had earlier on. Stories can be told through dance and through theatre and plays and any possible way you'd like. So there's no one way to tell a story. There's no right way to tell a story. You can use any medium you like. If you are a wonderful singer, then you can sing your story. If you are amazing at writing, then write your story. if you are good at speaking and you have an amazing imagination, then just tell your story. Record it like this, but tell your story, because that is what connects us. Stories are humanity, and in telling them, we connect with each other and we connect with ourselves. So, yes, tell your story. Yeah. Not sure what else to say. How do you find that?
That was fabulous. Thank you, Anna. I used to do exactly the same when I was a kid, but I find myself doing it less and less as I'm an adult. So it's nice to be reminded that you can just do that. It's really good. I too used to get told off for making up stories. So.
Oh. Yeah, I think that's part of the problem with storytelling and things as adults, is that when we were children, we would be told off for telling lies, for making things up. But actually doing that is very healthy, and it's a very good way of working through our problems and understanding situations and understanding other people.
Definitely.
So yeah, telling stories is a wonderful way of connecting with people, because, you know, like some of the stories we've had today, you know, and people have seen those, they've felt engaged by them, they've felt excited and like, oh wow, that's amazing, or they see themselves in those characters, or, you know, and it makes you feel more connected to everyone who's listening to that story, everyone, the person who's telling that story. And something that I feel is very important is that once a story has been put out into the world, it doesn't belong to the person that wrote it or spoke it, because everyone who listens to that will take their own, it will spark their imagination or their heart, and it will become part of them. You know, it's I've read many stories, and I love story, but they become very important to me because how they made me feel.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, the books that I've got on my shelves over there, they're all there because each and every one of them lit something inside me, connected to something inside me. And a lot of people go, "Well, you've read them, get rid of them, have some new ones." And I'm like, no, because they mean a lot.
Yes,
they mean a lot.
Yeah, totally. I totally feel that. I mean, I've got so many books here, so many books. And yes, they all mean something to me. You know, the first book I ever read is here, because I didn't start reading books until I was 17 years old. Before that, I really struggled reading and writing and all sorts, and it took me 3 years to finish one book, because I just couldn't get it. I couldn't understand the words. I had to keep rereading things. And it wasn't until I was 17 that I really found a book. And that was because my partner at the time had said, "You have to read this, it's amazing." And I was very ill at the time, and he would come down and he would read to me. He would read the book to me. And then he would leave it with me when he went away. So I had to read myself to find out what would happen next. And it really sort of made me want to read and want to work through it. But it was having that help from him that actually allowed me to do that. And now I just can't get enough.
I think it is something special as well when someone's reading a story to you or telling you a story verbally. I think it's there's an extra level of engagement that is missing when you read it for yourself, because it kind of brings it to life, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. There are some amazing storytellers out there, but sometimes all you need is someone you care about to tell you a story.
Yeah.
That's why kids love their parents telling them stories, or their brothers or their sisters.
Yeah.
Because it's not so much about the story, it's about that person telling you the story.
Yeah.
And it's time with people as well. It's actually having time with people, which right now, after the last year and a half, time with people is so important.
Yeah.
And actually making time for people is very important.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely being able to do that is a major thing. So yeah, stories are there and they need to be told, and everyone has it, stories in them, whether it's tales about their parents, or things that they've done. There's so many people out there say, oh, I couldn't do anything, I couldn't write a story like that. So it doesn't have to be like someone else's, it can be completely yours. You can tell it in whichever way you like, because there are no rules. And
I think there is something to be said for what you were saying earlier about being told not to tell stories when you're little, told you were lying, or told, not to make things up or whatever. And I think that does stop a lot of people from understanding that their story is important too.
Yeah.
Even if it's just what happens to them on a daily basis, their story is important too, and it will resonate with somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think stories are very important. For so many reasons. And there's so many books I've read which I've absolutely loved, that have helped me understand myself. Something in that book has gone ping in my mind.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, they've put words to something I couldn't put words to.
Yeah, I've read a lot like that.
Yeah. And
it's definitely my favourite stories have that to them.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. But that's the thing, we as people, we tell stories all the time. We come home from work, we tell people about our day. That is a story. It is a story. It is us telling our truth, telling our stories, telling our knowledge and our experiences. And definitely everyone should let that out more.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank
for
you.
this workshop. I hope people will get lots out of it if they're watching it later. And there's plenty more to come today, that's for sure, if they want to listen to more stories. We're back live on YouTube in an hour and a half, where everyone is welcome to come and share a story with us. I'm really excited for that one. So thank you for watching, everyone.
Thanks, Anna.